It's been a while since, I admit, we've talked about it on this show, but it is something that is impacting a lot of folks in our part of the region, and that is the pending landfill that, of course, is being looked at for South Kansas City. And one of those folks trying to fight it is State Representative Mike Haffner, who joins us on KCMO Talk Radio as we start the 9 o'clock hour. Mike, good morning. It's been a while since we've talked about this, so take us through where this proposed landfill is at and how you're trying to fight it down in Jeff City.
Well, Pete, good morning, and I appreciate you having me on. So a quick update of what's taken place. There's two bills. I've got my bill, which we've already got through the House, and I'll go through a quick summary of that. And both Rick Bratton and Mike Searpoy have bills going through the Senate. So where we stand right now, my bill, House Bill 1751, which would stop the Monheisers in this landfill, has already been third read. That means it has been through the final process in the House, and it has now moved over into the Senate. And we got overwhelming bipartisan support. We needed 82 votes. We got 112. So we're waiting for that bill to be heard in the Senate. Now, in the other chamber, we've got two bills. Rick Bratton's bill is stuck in local government. It has not had an executive session. Mike Searpoy's bill, Senate Bill 739, is on the floor calendar, so it is ready to go. And I'd just like to say I appreciate what Mike is doing. He has been involved in this fight. He's reaching out not only to elected officials but unelected officials, and this has been a team process, and he is engaged and he is fighting hard.
All right, so your bill would just prevent the landfill from going where it's proposed to be going, and remind people again where exactly that is.
So this is going to be right on the border of Jackson and Cass County, and it's literally across the street. So it's, you're looking at a 500-plus acre parcel of land. Right across the street on the eastern boundary, you've got Summit Point Elementary with over 500 kids. Just to the south, at the Cass County border, you have Creekmore, that development. And so what the bill does, and this only applies to the Kansas City area, there's a section in statute because Kansas City historically cannot get this right. They cannot put landfills in right. They're not listening to the community. So right now, as it sits in statute, if there's going to be a landfill going in and it's within a half a mile of a municipality, it requires those municipalities to give approval. Well, this location, totally inappropriate, is literally a couple of feet past a half mile with a couple of municipalities, Lee Summit and Raymore. So what my bill does, it's a one-word change, and Mike Searpoy's bill matches it exactly, is that distance now increases to a mile.
And that's not unreasonable. I mean, I certainly don't think it is. But I know what's interesting is, like, we have friends at the Show Me Institute who I know you know well, and they're a libertarian leading think tank. They're against government getting involved in this landfill project. What would you say to those who are maybe more libertarian that would claim that this is government overreach happening from Republicans?
Well, this, Pete, it's beyond understanding. This process is absolutely broken. What has taken place here is that there are specific procedures in statute if you're going to put in a landfill, and it starts with applying for a permit through the Department of Natural Resources, and it's a 22-step process. So the Monheisers want it both ways. They've got now on contract 19 lobbyists, and they're lobbying both chambers. Yet they won't apply for a permit. They won't talk to the community. They want to press forward with a landfill without following the procedures. And that's how this is absolutely broken. You just don't do. This is the worst of what happens within politics, and it needs to be taken care of. We need to protect property rights. This is a direct affront on the property rights of these individuals that have invested their lives. They're already in their homes. They've invested in businesses. And now they want to put a landfill in there, which is going to destroy their property values.
Is there a place that you would propose this landfill go?
Well, here's two things with that, Pete. Number one, there have been extensive studies that show very, very clearly there is not a need for a landfill in the Kansas City area right now. The Mid-America Regional Council just released an extensive study going through 11 different scenarios. and they said that there's enough landfill capacity, and the next landfill will be needed somewhere between 19 and 37 years. And that matches the study that we put together over a year ago through open sources. So the other part of this, do we need landfills? Yes. That's part of economic development. I'm all for that. And I have committed publicly, I've committed on the floor, the Missouri House, multiple times to fixing that entire statute, Chapter 260, as it deals with landfills. I will fix it so the communities are involved and a situation like this doesn't happen again.
All right. Well, Mike Haffner, state rep, representing a part of the area that this landfill, of course, is potentially going to go. Is there a timeline on this? Like, do you need to get this done this session over the next few weeks? Because if you don't, this landfill is going to go in?
Well, and that's the concern. This should have been a slam dunk. During the last legislative session, there were some broken relationships in the Senate, and that's why I appreciate that Mike Searpoy has stepped in. There was an extensive filibuster that has taken place. We got to get this done now. Our backs are against the wall. But I will tell you, Pete, I'm not a guy, with my combat background, when I led air wing strikes in the Arabian Gulf through 3 combat deployments, I never went in with one tactic. We have got multiple portions of this that we are strategizing. I have filed another bill, House Bill 2801. It is a longer play. And what I mean by that is if we cannot get this through this legislative session, I am doing my best to get a bill to the governor that will put a moratorium on all landfill permits until the Department of Natural Resources, and they're required to do this by statute. They are required to do a statewide study. That has not been done since 2006. So my bill puts a moratorium on all those landfills until DNR completes that extensive study.
What's DNR?
Department of Natural Resources. Those are the individuals.
Gotcha. I always like to whenever politicians go down the line of using the lingos no one really knows, I got to clarify them. You know how it goes, Mike.
Yeah. And I get that, and I know I use a lot of acronyms, especially within the military, and I got to be careful.
Well, Mike Haffner, thanks for what you're doing. We appreciate it, and keep us posted on how this is going down there in Jeff City. I know a lot of people in that part of town are going to be focused on it.
Yep, I appreciate it, Pete.
All right, good deal. Mike Haffner, by the way, he is also running for state senate against Rick Bratton, so interesting background as well.